Hey, good morning, Tom.
Hey, good morning, Brad.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. Long time no see.
Yeah, well, it's been a month or two, yeah, at
Yeah.
least.
So you've been doing all right? You hanging in there?
Overall,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
I'm sorry, what?
No, that's good. I'm glad you are.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Tom, for joining the author's table today.
why, certainly. Uh,
Tom, describe your writing style.
Writing style. It's kind of a free flowed. I'm a pantser, so whatever comes to mind just goes on the paper first time out. I mean, I'll have my subject matter in hand, what I want to talk about and everything,
Hmm.
but I just have to see where the story flows to.
So do you already have it like in mind, like a concept, and then go from there, or do you,
Yes, yes, definitely. It's really hard to describe word wise.
yeah.
Uh, you get these pictures in your mind of what's happening,
Yes.
and so you just have to sit down and write what it is that's happening.
Sure. Now, before you start writing, Tom, do you like sort of like artists sometimes would do like concept sketches, just like ideas. Do you kind of do that too in words?
Not written. I'll work things out in my mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
I may sit down the night before and just think about where I want the story to go and
Sure.
that sort of thing.
Sure. Now,
And
now,
then,
now, now, before you were
and,
an author, Tom, your daughter
mhm.
had a challenge for you. And what was that challenge?
She was in college taking a creative writing course. I asked to see her homework at one point, and I said, "Oh, wow, this is very interesting. I used to do stuff like that. I had a course in college myself."
Yeah.
And she was interested in what I wrote, so I showed it to her, and then she said, "Well, this is pretty good. You ought to do some more."
Yeah. And that's how that. Do you think that was your turning point to become an author?
Well, there was a combined thing. The college course got me working out issues through my writing.
Mm-hmm.
So, there will be a little bit of autobiography thing going on in each of my stories, but it's mostly to deal with certain issues in my life.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a psychological purging, if you will.
Sure.
And so, yeah, that was the challenge. And because we all go through things throughout life, there's always some good subject matter there.
That's right, absolutely. Now, you had some short stories published in several anthologies and a novella, and it's called Dodging Butterflies.
Yes, here, hold that up.
Nice.
If you ever go to Amazon and look me up under T.W. Lofgren, this book will come up along with my latest, Too Late to Pray.
Yes.
The Dodging Butterflies was my first attempt at a lengthy story. I had been doing some short stories for different writers groups I belong to, but that was my first attempt. And I'll be the first to admit that as a novelist, uh, I did everything wrong. So It's all incorporated in that one short book. It was published under a vanity press, which was glad to take my money for whatever I wanted to put out there. But I learned that number one, editing is very important.
Yes.
Number two, having beta readers critique you and uh, stand up to that criticism is very important. And number three, rewrite, as many times as you need to get the story going better.
That's correct. Now, like, what was your maybe on this when we talk about your second book? Now, was the first one? Was there a process like from like? Did you have like a publisher in mind, or were you going to be like a self-publisher? Or how did you get the concept and then to the final piece?
Well, I was actually, just talking in it. I was addressing issues at the time, threats of war, that sort of thing. and thinking about how all that could play out
Mm-hmm.
conceivably.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the impetus behind writing it in a fictional sort of way. It dealt with my own background as far as, you know, I was a kid when the Vietnam War was happening, and there was a huge anti-war movement going on at the time. That's all my teenage years was spent in that framework.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was applying the wars of, let me get a date. I think it was like 2016 or 17. Uh, Iraq War going on, that sort of thing. So
Yep.
I was applying the things I knew about my Vietnam experience to the latest wars.
Sure. Sure. Now, like, did you have like your first book? Did you have like any obstacles that you went through to get it published?
No, actually, that's the thing about vanity presses. They're out there to make a buck for themselves. So whatever you want to put out there for them to publish, they'll be glad to take your money and say, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I had some help finding the image for the cover, but and then, yeah, I did the layout for the cover. But from there on, they just took it, put it together in a it, it is a nicely produced work. I will say that. It's
Okay.
just,
Now,
I've learned a lot about writing since
yeah,
then. And
absolutely. Now, let's talk about now who is Thomas Speaker?
he is the main character in Dodging Butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
He is a, a man who was felt a calling to become a preacher and tell the world about a better way of living rather than all constant war and that sort of thing. So that he was the main character in that book. I did carry him over as a character in Too Late to Pray.
Mm-hmm.
So Too Late to Pray follows in sequence to the point where Thomas Speaker has established a community um, and is trying to rebuild after the fall of civilization.
Yes. Now how did you come up with that character? What was your
Oh,
main thing to
oh, that's a good question. It's twofold actually. So I am a big fan of Orson Scott Card and his Ender Game uh, series. And in that series, Andrew Wiggins, the main character, also called Ender, um, was just a nice last name sort of thing, Ender. So looking at the politics of the time, I was thinking about the past Speaker of the House, uh, Thomas Tip O'Neill
Oh, yes.
was the one. So I was playing with words there, and it said, and with Orson Scott Card, his one book, Speaker for the Dead. That's
Uh,
where that
okay.
name.
Yes.
I combined the two, Thomas and Speaker, and
There you go.
so the characters.
That's funny how things work out, isn't it? I mean, you could take little bits and pieces of something that just stays in your mind, and then when get the creative juices flowing, and you just put them together, and there's your character.
Oh, I'm a big fan of serendipity.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
and
Yep.
and that's why writing as a pantser works for me
Yes.
because what I've learned is on that first draft as a pantser, that's actually your outline if you were a planner. So you're laying out the storyline as it comes along and putting it all together. Um, a planner would sit down and figure out what's going to go on in this chapter, and that's going to lead to chapter this, and everything's going to tie together on an outline before he starts writing.
That's right. Yes.
Me, I just
Yeah.
my first draft is my outline.
There you go. Now, when you were putting your first book together, Tom, Did you do a lot of editing yourself, or you just how did that flow go?
Um, First book, like I say,
Yeah,
no, I didn't do any editing. I just let it flow through and said, voila, it's done. Let
yeah.
them publish it.
Now, for example, can you go back into the book and then redo it, kind of thing, and then have you thought of that or no?
Oh, yeah, I've thought about it. Then I got into the nitty gritty of the contract,
Oh,
and that's where it gets complicated. I would essentially have to buy my rights back from the press
ah,
so that I then owned it again. Right now, it's owned by, I'll leave them unnamed.
yes, yeah.
So
S-
if it's sold, they get first profits. I get a smidgen of a royalty from it.
and
But
and
yeah,
they also own your ISBN too, then, right?
right. So I would basically have to go back, say, you guys aren't doing anything with it, let me buy it back. And if they agree, then they'll come up with a sum that they think it's worth. And
Okay,
if
yeah.
I don't agree with that, I just let it ride, which I have been doing.
Now,
Like I
yeah,
said, it was a learning process, but I am able to take the characters. I can still use them, and I mean they're mine. So
well,
that's
that's
why
yeah, that's good. I'm
yeah
glad
I
for that.
extended I extended Thomas Speaker then into the follow up novel,
Yes, yes,
and, and and I've left myself an opening for something to follow after that.
sure. Awesome. Now let's talk about that book then, Tom. Too Late to Pray. Now
Hmm.
your main character had a mission, and what is that mission?
Okay, so I've kind of got a split character main characters. I've got Thomas Speaker with
Yes.
his enclave set in southeastern Ohio, and I have Thomas Cat, uh, who is situated in where was it, Kansas, middle of America. Uh, as you can imagine, Thomas Cat is a cat, and he has a gift for humanity. He's able to talk to people, and he takes on the mission of he wants to cross America and meet up with Thomas Speaker because he feels that he can pass this gift on to humanity through Thomas Speaker. And so the book is his journey, as well as the side story of what's going on in Speaker's Town as they're building it up and expanding it out.
It's like a reverse of a Doctor Doolittle.
Yeah, yeah. I never thought about it that way. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, that is pretty cool though. It's so neat though to have, when you see characters that, like, especially animals when they're talking, and then
Hmm.
like a human or just other animals talking, and then they know what their communication is, and it's so neat though, because that can go really anywhere, you know.
Oh, exactly. So, I mean, in his journey, he comes across various characters. One is a fox who he befriends, and the fox joins him on his journey. Um, those two come across Steve the Sasquatch, so there's a chapter about him. But the thread goes from uh, Thomas leaving. He meets up with a human in Kansas who they plot their escape out of there. That human dies early on. Spoiler alert.
Mm.
So, Thomas is on his own, but he comes across another human, name of Christian Chance, um, where I make some subtle references to religion and um, how it plays out. There's a chapter where we meet up with a very confused individual who combines all religions into his belief system. So it gets a little bit complicated with him. But
It's a fun ride though, isn't it?
oh, it was a fun write.
Yeah, that
So,
too, absolutely. Now,
Uh,
like your process, Tom, on on this "Too Late to Pray" book. Now, did you
mhm.
do the same type of thing, like your concept? And now I'm assuming now this book you edited, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, but the same process as far as pantsing the story as I went along.
Yes.
A lot of research went into that one. I needed
Right.
to find out things
Absolutely.
about how they work. Technical things like there's a steamboat that's coming up the Mississippi River. So I needed to know how the steamboat work because I'm going to be a passenger on it. And I don't want to go from one area to the next
Right.
with describing it incorrectly.
Right.
So
When you were going through that, did you like edit it as you went through, or did you do it at the end?
both actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned a valuable lesson. So I use Grammarly to correct my spelling and punctuation.
Mm-hmm.
Big mistake is to leave that turned on as you're writing because as you're writing, you get, I mean, you can get a wrong keystroke and it flags it.
That's right. Yes.
So that
Yes.
word's misspelled, and you go and that interrupts your
Yes.
flow of thought.
That's correct. Yes.
So I've learned to turn that off.
Yes. It,
I,
it,
I, I've learned it too much.
yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
I know a lot of
and then
yeah, I know a lot of authors too that will just they said the same thing. They 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 just write, regardless if it's right or wrong. But then they go back and then they
mhm,
correct it because if they keep stopping, it stops the flow of their process. It
exactly.
because it is difficult. I mean, when you got a good flow going and you're in your groove and you're just typing along, and if you keep stopping, it's like you can lose it. And then it
It,
changes the whole perspective of then of what you're trying to write.
yes, it does. But I will stop if I'm not finding the exact word that I need because it's a
Yes,
stumbling block.
yes, yes. Now
But as soon as I find that word, then I can move on.
that's correct. Yes. Now, like when you finished all that, now did you already have in mind, Tom, that you were going to be a self publisher or find another publisher?
Oh, yeah, I pretty much by that time I had learned enough about writing and publishing
Mm-hmm.
to know that I didn't want it to just sit and languish while I'm trying to find a publisher,
Yes.
especially being a first time author. All the advice that I'd been given was you need at least two or three books written for a publisher to even consider you. And it would be good if you had some kind of track record of sales for them to be really interested in you. I had neither of those going for me. So, yeah, self publishing was the only way to go.
Now, did you find that was a good move for you?
Um, yeah, yeah, so far. I've got complete control over the book and what I do with it.
Yes.
Um, the hard part with self publishing for me is self publicity. So I and again, lots of research into what I should be doing as far as getting my name out, and
Correct. Yes.
advertising and uh,
Marketing.
marketing. Oh yes,
Yeah.
that's a heavy eye roll you saw there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the biggest things too for self-publishing is, it's a lot of work to put your book together. And then they think, well, okay, once I get the book finished, okay, now what? You know, or do I stop? That is like a wall because they don't know how to do it. How to, how to like marketing. Uh, there's so much involved afterwards because it's a lot of footwork yourself. You know,
Exactly,
it's like your business. So how are you going to promote that? You know.
exactly. And with dodging butterflies, I didn't know where to go to.
Yes.
Who do you go to for advice on all that? And I was in a writers group. This was back in Ohio, but they were more of a cheering section type of writers group. They
Okay.
wanted to hear what you wrote and they go, "Yay, that's that real nice," or some
Right.
critique going on. No real advice on how to actually self-publish, the stumbling blocks, that sort of thing.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
I got here, yeah, when I came down to Florida, I had enough experience writing now to say I want to deliberately find a writers group, a critique group, and just a quick online search led me to a nice little group out of Palm Bay.
Nice.
Uh, I've been a member since then. And through them, then I found out about the Space Coast Writers Guild,
Mm-hmm.
and I joined up with them. That will be about 6 years ago now. But there's a wealth of information in that group, and
Yes.
they do a lot of instructional meetings, different topics every meeting, as well as they're now setting up critique groups within the guild. So if you have a particular style or
Yes.
genre that you're writing, there's going to be a critique group that they will be able to guide you to and set you up real quick.
Yeah, that's great because you just brought up a lot of valuable information for self-publishers. And I think the biggest thing is networking, getting to book groups, and you know, and even if it is, little, on the criticism part, you're learning. They're not attacking; it's just learning because you get all kinds of writers, and I think it's very critical to take that stuff and just learn from that, and then branch from there.
Exactly, exactly. And you touched on a key point. You take the criticism, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whether if you agree with it or don't agree with it, that's fine. But you take it and you try to understand their perspective. I had my newest novel I've been working on now for 2 years, unfortunately. But I had a section in there where I referred to a one of the characters as a female being bald, and it was somewhat derogatory. So my critique group had a young lady has a young lady in it, and she called me out on it flat out. She's, "What do you mean that's?" And she has some select words, but uh, and this is come. I'm of the generation you listen to your elders, son. And here's this girl,
Yeah.
younger than my daughters, saying you can't do that. And
Yeah.
this is the way the world is working now, Tom.
Well, I think too, like when we're writing books, so it's not going to cater to everybody,
Right. Yeah.
and I think too, you know, it's because it's coming from you, it's coming from the heart, and it's whatever the story is. Some people are going to like it and some aren't, but it's out there for you to like it or not. I mean, it's not to like attack people. It's just it's there if people want to read it.
Well, and that's a good point, and that's why some authors are just outright rejected.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't understand their style,
Yes.
what it is they're trying to convey. Um,
It's a good, like it's like artists. Not everyone is going to like their style of painting. And then some love it.
right.
And it's like poetry, the same thing. Not everybody is going to like their style or what it's referencing, but there are other people who will. I mean, writing, art, poetry, all that is it just comes from within, and it's an expression. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to go back to, and I don't know the exact quote, but Kurt Vonnegut um, has a famous quote out there about um, do something creative, art, play music,
Mm-hmm.
write, whatever.
That's right.
Just um, just to get in touch with that part of your own psyche.
That's right.
You know,
I always said too, Tom, that everybody has a gift, but not everybody can find that gift within themselves. You just need to know how to tap into that, and you can be doing it your whole life and not even know it.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. As an example of that, my early childhood, my dad insisted that I learn how to play the accordion.
Hmm.
Well, we're in the mid '60s. America, the British invasion was full tilt. You don't play accordion in a rock band. It just wasn't cool.
But you could have started a new rock band, Tom.
Well, look what Weird Al did.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hey, it's this guy. Sometimes it's the timing, I guess, too.
Yeah. But in taking music lessons, I did develop a strong appreciation for music.
Oh yeah,
Um, it as an expression of emotion and feelings.
yes.
And yeah, I finally was able to drop the accordion and forget all about it. But here in my retirement, a couple years ago said, I got time on my hands. I wonder what. And I picked up the harmonica.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm learning to play the harmonica. And
So do I hear a blues band in the future?
well, you're touching on a dream, but I'm going to have to improve quite a
Oh,
bit before.
you could be a backup playing a harmonica. That's awesome, though. Good for you.
Yeah, yeah, it would be fun. I know a couple of musicians in town. Um, I've
Good.
never broached that topic with them, but
Hey, you only fail if you don't try.
good point.
Here's an example. Look at Dick Van Dyke. Learning things, and he's 95 years old.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
So if you're breathing, Tom, you do it. Hey, as we all know, life is too short. You know,
and
and go
and it
out there
gets
and do it.
shorter on this side of it. Yeah.
Don't remind me. Let's go back to like when you received your second copy or your second book, I should say.
Hmm.
Now, what were your thoughts and your feelings when you actually received that in the mail?
Oh, it's a bit of a thrill, when you want to
Yes.
do a happy dance, hold it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, because you figure that takes a little time to put a book together and the research, the writing, all the work, the editing, the graphics. There's so much involved in putting a book together, and then
Yeah,
finally getting it in the mail and saying, "Man, this is mine. I did this."
exactly. And I had a minimum order, so I was anxious to pass it out to friends and colleagues.
Absolutely. And
My writers group, I gave each of them a copy just as a thank you for their criticism along
yes,
the way.
yep.
Um,
That
I-
yeah.
I've also had friends and family members say, "Are there pictures in it?" I won't read it if there's no pictures in it.
Oh, well, here's a box of crayons, right?
Good one. I'm going to use that next time.
Jeez. Well, now, Tom, do you have any events coming up?
Um, Events, not directly. I am involved. I got elected to as treasurer of the Space Coast Writers Guild this past April. So I'm on my 1 year anniversary with that position,
Excellent.
and it's taken a bit of time out uh, to fulfill those responsibilities. But at the same time, I'm really having a bit of a joyride with that
Yes,
because I'm finding out with this group, I can have a positive impact on other people. You know,
absolutely.
I can help I can help the guild set direction and where things are going to evolve for us, and that's kind of awesome.
Yes, it is.
It, it takes away from my writing and other things, but I am able to attend. There's some book fairs. Cocoa Village um, just had a book fair yesterday, actually. I was unable to attend that because of my commitment to the critique group, but the guild will be represented at the craft fairs. I think May, October, and or August, and anyways, look it up under Cocoa Village um, craft fair,
Okay,
and we
sure.
can find dates. But
And and I have to say thank you to you. I'll be speaking to your group. I believe it's going to be next year, early next year.
oh,
Yeah, because yeah, you mentioned it to that to
Cynthia, yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
and
our president.
yes, and she contacted me, and I'll be talking to your group. I think we're scheduling it for next year,
Okay.
so that's going to be wonderful. And so thank you again
Well,
for that.
well, definitely. Well, like you say, it's all about networking
That's
and
right.
uh, tooting each other's horn, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. It's helping each other. We're all there. We all been in the same boat. And it's just learning from each other and networking and growing and just and learning. I mean, that's really the fun of it. It's not really a task. It's not like these heavy things that you got to think about. It's just you enjoy it. And run with it. And it's just for fun. And you never know where it'll take you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think what you're doing is really great though. I mean, it's it's I think about I have four published books now, and I never thought, well, this was going to happen, but it opened up so many doors and so many avenues, and it's really fun. It's really it's a lot of fun.
Well, and people like you're getting enjoyment out of creating this podcast. That's a task I would never take on, to be honest. It just sounds like an enormous amount of work, and you
Never say
wonder.
never, Tom. Never say never.
Uh, I'll be glad to be a guest,
Yeah,
but I don't know that.
and I'm glad you're my guest. Yes. Now, will I see you in November in Melbourne?
November, what's going
That was the Authors for Authors event.
that? I'm trying to think.
That's
No, it was the spring one that got
yes,
canceled.
yes.
So yeah, if they're doing it again in November, definitely I'll be showing up there.
That'd be awesome. Now, are you now you also like photography?
Yes.
Now, have you ever thought of doing a book on your photography?
Yes and no. Um, my original college degree is a Bachelor of Fine Arts in photography.
Oh, nice,
I
excellent.
the first half of my career was in various forms of photography. Industrial. I worked for a couple major corporations
Hmm.
in their photo labs. Um, I spent 7 years at a hospital working in the education department as a photographer AV person. That was the most rewarding job I have ever had. Had its challenges, but
Yeah.
it individual daily rewards with what I was doing there.
If you would do a book on photography, would it be more technical then?
No, no,
Okay.
I have a whole separate side of artistic photographs.
See, I think
Uh,
I think people would love that, especially like if it was a tabletop book, hardcover. That would be
oh,
wonderful.
oh gosh.
Yeah. See, now I have a job for you to do now, see.
Yeah, it's not just a job, it's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. But it's I think it would be a fun challenge because it's something you have a passion for.
Yeah. But it's funny you should mention that because when I was putting my website together, which I've neglected,
That's
one of
another
my critique,
challenge.
yeah, but one of my critique partners came out and says, "Well, where's the photo section?" Uh, and I'm going, "The website's for the books," and he says, "Still my question, where's the photo section?"
See, there you go. I mean, you can have a one website, one specific, on your books, and then a section on, your pictures or even your third book with your photography. So
Oh my.
now you think that would take you how long you think that would take you to do a photography book? Quite a bit, quite a bit of
Oh
time.
gosh. I The way I procrastinate on my second novel, yeah, it could take some time.
Well, and I think that's something to think about because everybody has all different likes and stuff, and that would be a wonderful, especially at book signing events.
Yeah, you're giving me ideas, Brad.
So November, I'm gonna be asking you.
Well, definitely, yeah, challenge me when we get together there.
Yes.
I put my New Year's resolution was I want to finish that second novel for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I've got enough short stories in file, as well as two. I just started a new one last night, but I've got two in writing format now.
Awesome.
Uh, so I'm really considering a book of short stories.
There you go. Excellent.
Yeah, I had a working title, but every time I mention it to anyone, they go, "Ooh, no, 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 don't use that."
Well, yeah, I think it has to come from you though, because then it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, let me run it by you.
Sure. Yep. Sure. I'll be
Here's
happy.
the title:
Okay.
Skid marks on my shorts.
Now, what is that going to, what kind of material is it in the book?
Various of my short stories. There's
It's
my writing style is, if you think back to Rod Serling and the Twilight Zone
sure,
series.
sure.
So not everything's aliens and flying saucers and stuff. Some of the stuff was based solidly on Earth,
But you know
and
something, Tom? That's a play on words, and it's funny. It makes people laugh too, though.
that was my feeling.
I think you should stay with it because
Ooh, thank you.
if you change it,
Hmm.
then it may not really be the same for you.
Okay.
You know, because if you keep changing, because everybody's going to have their own way of approach to that.
Yeah.
You know, so and I think, I mean, that it's funny, and it's going to bring curiosity to people when they read that title,
Right.
and that's going to entice them to pick up that book and say, "What is it?"
Good point.
You know, and then when they start
And,
reading it, it's a play on words and it's funny. So, and I think that it's going to tie in to what your material is.
ooh, thank you for that. That's incentive. But it's like the title here,
Too late to
"Too
pray.
Late
Yep.
to Pray."
Mm-hmm.
I lifted that. That is actually a song lyric, and I think the whole term was something like, and I don't want to say, but it's too late to pray. And it was within, it was a minor line in a song, but I picked that up as, yeah, too late.
Yeah, because it
And
made sense to you. Now,
yeah,
because if you gave that to
but
someone else, they would say, "Ah, no, no." So you have to stay with your feelings.
exactly. But at the couple of book fairs that I have been at and trying to sell it there, I've had a number of people come up and they just tap on the book and say, "It's never too late to pray."
Oh,
And
that's
so
true though.
I'm trying to reach out. Right. I said, "Well, you should read this book and see how it affects you, and that your belief in that."
That's correct. Yes.
Because
Now, where can people purchase your books then, Tom?
oh, it's on Amazon.
Okay. Okay.
I've also published it through KDP, which technically makes it available through Barnes and Noble and your whatever bookstore wants to buy it through KDP.
Yes.
Uh, the way that works, a bookstore gets a discount on it from KDP. They sell it to you at price. And each time I get a small
Yeah.
royalty out of it.
Well, you know, it's a nice little, incentive that it's out there. But the biggest thing, like we mentioned earlier, is you know, the the promoting, the marketing, because those are, you get full, you know, sale on that book. You know, when you self promote it,
Right.
and so think that's the biggest thing. Um, and I think too, you know, part of when I talk with your group though, it's marketing, you know, and it's, and I think that's where a lot of self publishers need that assistance, that next step, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm very happy for you though, because you have a lot of projects that you can touch on. Even if you did one of those projects, like one a week, just a little bit at a time, baby steps, and then next thing you know, you're gonna say, "Holy cow, I'm done." You know, I mean, it'll take a little bit, but at least you're putting a little bit towards each one. Even your website,
Yeah.
it takes a little time, but it is
Mhm.
it is an avenue to help promote yourself. And once you get that done, then you can make business cards and stuff, and then that'll tell people, oh, he's got a website, and Amazon and so on. So it all adds up. The more that you can
Yeah.
promote yourself, the better.
Yeah. I appreciate that encouragement.
Well, of course.
I really do.
Well, absolutely. I am glad to do it, and I'm very happy for you. And I know if you keep doing what you're doing and just be persistent, you'll be surprised that it'll be all done. It's like, man, it's done. And even you have two books, and that's great, and that's wonderful, because you figure how many people in this world don't even have a book, or even how to even start. You know,
Mm.
and so that's a huge achievement, and just the fact that you're thinking about other books and also your website, and I think that's huge. It really is. So just keep
Yeah.
those creative juices flowing, because it's gonna keep it's gonna be your heart line, your blood flow, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it gives you something. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big achievement, because I think every day when you hold that in your hand, say, man, I did this, and people are interested in it and they want to buy it. And I think that just
Hmm.
even if one person just bought a book, you touch somebody. You know, I mean, before, when you didn't have it, well, they wouldn't have known.
Good point.
So I mean, it's so be proud of them, and stand behind them. Even that first book, it's you wouldn't have never known if you didn't try. And now that you know, then you won't repeat it. Now you know.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And it confirmed that I got the bug.
exactly,
Writing that first one. Yeah.
exactly.
Writing
Now,
that first
now,
one.
y- yeah, and so you're well on your way now, Tom.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to seeing you in November, and I think that'll be great, so we can touch base and talk some more. And again,
Well,
I thank you so much, Tom, for being on the author's table today, and I really enjoyed talking to you today.
I truly appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Tom, and you have a fantastic day, and keep writing.
Will do.
All right,
Thanks so
Tom.
much.
You're very welcome. Okay.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.